guys, Dr. Chloe Costigan here from Mobility Doc. Today we're going to do a strength triplet. So this is a foundational strength triplet. So we are going to focus on single leg stability. In terms of equipment that you'll need, we're going to stretch the hamstring. So you'll ideally want something you can place your hands on depending on your flexibility. So I think a chair is a pretty safe bet. If your hamstrings are pretty flexible, then you can grab some yoga blocks or something that's a little bit lower. So we're going to do 3 different exercises that are going to improve flexibility, stability, strength. So let's go over those. So we're first going to focus on some hamstring flexibility, but reinforcing hip hinge mechanics. So my right leg's forward, and I'll talk more about that then. My right leg's forward, left leg's back. So if the right leg's forward, this is the one that I'm stretching. So notice that my hip is over my ankle, my knee is bent, and then my back is flat. So I'm going to just straighten my knee and then bend it. So the movement that I'm getting is that the thigh bone is just pushing back. I'm not shifting my whole body weight back, okay? So I'm here, bend and straighten. Now, things to avoid. You want to avoid flexing your spine like this. You want to try to keep that part flat as you do that. We'll do 25 seconds on each side. If your hamstrings are pretty flexible, then you can place your hands down. So notice how my back is still flat, and then I'm going to straighten my knee and bend it, okay? Now, the thing that I want you guys to focus on is that if my hand is in my, my fake pockets here, this is the thing that's pushing back. So I'm not bending from my spine, I'm only moving from my hip. So this is the essence of single leg stability, is being able to keep your spine stable on your pelvis, so that's core stability, and then just having your pelvis and your core move over your femur, over your thigh bone. So we'll keep exploring that. Now, the next thing you're going to do, we're going to do that 25 seconds on each side. Then you're going to lie on your side and you're going to do side leg lifts. So I'm sure you've probably done something like this before, right? But we're going to do this a little bit differently, because what I want you guys to focus on is you're going to stay in one line from your heel to your hip to your shoulder. So I'm not doing this either. So I'm staying as one line. You can use like a yoga mat as a reference point. And then when I go to lift this leg up, I want to make sure that my toes and my heel are in one line. So I'm not turning my toes up. They're staying pointing forward. And then as I lift up, I'm making sure that my heel stays behind my hip. So if say I were standing and doing this, when I'm here, I need to make sure that I'm lifting out to the side like this. I'm not lifting forward, okay? That's just using hip flexor. We already use that muscle enough. This muscle that we're trying to activate is essential for single leg stability. Now, the last exercise we're going to do is a single leg Rdl, but we're going to do it in a modified way. You've probably done this in some capacity before, but I'm going to be really specific about how we're going to do this, okay? So for a reference, just to kind of illustrate some of these points, I'm going to put this dowel on my head, middle back, and sacrum, just to highlight how we're going to do this. So we're going to do a 2-leg to a single leg Rdl. So you're going to hinge, you're going to lift one leg up, and then you're going to come up, and then you'll switch sides. So hinge, lift one leg up, and then come out to the side, and then come back up. Now, when I'm doing this, what I'm focusing on is making sure that I'm moving just from my hip. So this is what I see most frequently, is people bend from their spine. So they bend their spine, and then they overbend at their knee to lift that leg up. In this case, I'm just using my quad. What we're trying to focus on is the essence of single leg stability is being able to activate these gluteal muscles. So what I really want you guys to focus on is making sure that you're moving from, that I'm just moving at my pelvis. My knee is just slightly bent. I'm going to lift this leg up as much as I can without turning open. So that's the other thing that happens, is when you're here and then you go to lift the leg up, you turn open. Try to stay pointing down. I'm going to give you a ton of instruction as we go through for the 3 sets, so let's not get too bogged down with this. I'll start with, I'll give you guys instruction as we go. Okay, so let's start with that hamstring stretch. We're going to do 25 seconds on each side. All right, let's get started. In 3, 2, 1, go. So my right leg's forward, left leg's back. I'm keeping my hip over my pelvis, and I'm going to bend and straighten. This is really important because if we want to improve our single leg stability, particularly in that single leg RDL, we have to make sure that that hamstring and that glute is flexible enough that you can actually push that hip back. Because otherwise what people do is then they just use their quad. Switch sides. So now my left leg's forward, right leg's back, and then I'm just straightening that knee and bending it. Now notice that my back is flat. So if I put that dowel on the back of my head, middle back and sacrum, I'm staying as one line. I'm not rounding my pelvis. So if anything, you're kind of trying to create a little bit of an arch in your back to get a little bit more of a stretch. Good, and now we're gonna do the sideline leg lifts. So lie on your side. I'm gonna lie on my left side first. I'm gonna make sure that my heel is pointing back as I lift up and come down. We're gonna do 25 seconds on each side. Now, as I'm doing this, what's going to happen is I'm going to want to bring my leg forward. As much as I can though, I'm trying to keep my heel behind my hip. So heel is behind my hip here. Good, and now switch sides. So I'm gonna lie on my other side, just turning and lift up and down. You'll probably find that one side is a lot easier than the other. That's totally normal. As I'm doing this, I'm going to check in with my toes, especially for me on my left side. My left toes want to start to turn up. As much as I can, I'm going to try to keep them just moving forward. Good. All right, we're going to do the 2-leg to single leg RDL. So what that looks like is we're first going to do a hip hinge with 2 legs and then lift 1. I'll call it as we go. So hinge from the hips, keep the back flat. Now stabilize on that left side. Lift your right leg up, keep your leg as straight as you can, and then come stand up with the leg lifted. Place both feet down, push those hips back, lift the left leg up, trying not to bend my right knee, and then come up with the lifted leg. Push those hips back. So you see here, this is why we need that hamstring flexibility. Lift that right leg up, and then keep that leg straight, and then keep it lifted as you come up. So it's like that lifted leg becomes one line with my head. So then as my head lifts up, then the heel comes forward. 5 seconds. There's plenty more time to do more of these. Good. And then we'll go back to that hamstring stretch. So I'm going to start with right leg forward, left leg's going to be back. And now as you start feeling a little bit more flexible, you can come down a little bit too. So now for me, my right leg's forward, left leg's back. I'm bending and straightening my knee. I'm purposely bringing this left leg back just so you guys can see a little bit more clearly how I'm keeping this. I'm not shifting my body back at all. I'm just bending and straightening my knee. And switch sides. So again, my pelvis is staying in one direction. I'm trying to create an arch in my back. This might be pretty tough. So as much as you can, try to create that forward rotation of the pelvis, almost like you're trying to tip the tailbone up. That's forward rotation of the pelvis. Good. And now we'll do the side leg lifts. So come on your side. I'm going to lie on my left side first and go. So I'm lifting that heel up. Now, as I'm doing this, what I want to think about is keeping my leg as straight as I can, my knee as straight as I can. So it's going to want to start to bend. That means that I'm compensating by using my hip flexor and quad. So as much as I can, I'm trying to use this outer hip muscle. So the muscle that's right on like this side of the pelvis. Switch sides. So I'm going to roll onto my right side now. So then it's the muscle that's like right at the top of the pelvis on the side. This is what is so important for single leg stability. So if you do anything like running, hiking, even just walking, anything like that, any type of cutting sport, this is what you need. This is the stability that you need. Good. All right. 2-leg to single leg RDL. So remember, I'm going to place my hands kind of in those like fake pockets that I have to make sure that I'm focusing on, okay, my knees are just slightly bent. I'm going to push my hips back. Then I'm going to lift my right leg up. Keep this right leg as straight as I can. And then keep that leg lifted as I stand up. So push the hips back. Shift my weight over to my right hand side. Lift my left leg up. And then come on up. So you're just going to switch sides just like that. Good. Lift that leg up as much as you can. Push your hips back. So as I'm lifting this left leg up, what I'm making sure of though is that that standing leg isn't starting to rotate forward, okay? That's what's going to happen. If you start to bend the knee of this standing leg, then that just means you're using the hamstring. So it ends up kind of looking like, this. That's not what you want, because then that means you're just using your quad. Last time, hamstring stretch. So use this hamstring stretch as a way of being able to really challenge some of that flexibility that could prevent you from keeping that knee almost straight when you do the 2-leg to single leg RDL. Because these reinforce each other. Sometimes a muscle seems weak, but it's just because it's too tight that it can't function the way that it's supposed to. Switch sides. So you'll find, like for me, it's much harder for me to do this on my right-hand side. And my right side is the side that's less stable and the side that I have a harder time with on the 2-leg to single leg RDLs. So that's going to be something that I'm really going to try to focus on then when I'm doing this flexibility exercise to make sure that I can reinforce that in the strength. Now, lie on your side. Last time, side leg lifts. And check in with yourself. Like, I know for me, it's harder for me to do all of this on my right-hand side than my left-hand side, because that's just always my side that's a little bit tighter, a little bit weaker. If I'm going to have an injury, it's probably going to be on this side. So that's why we do this type of single leg work, is because that will help to balance out those asymmetries. And switch sides. When you use some type of asymmetry, it makes you 3 times more likely to have an injury. So that's why we need to do this type of work. And remember, when you first start doing this, at first, this is just a matter of exploring this movement. But if you do it once or twice a week for 4 weeks, it's going to make a huge difference. Consistency is key. Good. All right, last time, 2-leg to single leg RDLs. Now, guys, the thing I want you to focus on the most is the position of the down leg, okay? So when I'm doing this, I'm pushing both hips back. Then when I shift my weight over to my right-hand side, I'm really focusing on making sure that I'm not turning my pelvis open, that I'm not bending that knee too much, keeping both sides of my pelvis pointing down, and then come on up. So I'll show you from the front too. So push those hips back. Now I'm shifting my leg over to the side. I'm lifting this one up. The wall's in the way. But then as I come up, I'm coming up as one unit, okay? So by one unit, I mean I'm lifting this heel up. So from heel to head, I'm in one line. Good, push that hip back. Good, nice work, guys. Good, nice. So, like I said, this is designed to improve your foundational stability in this way. This is designed to be repeated. So if you can do this sort of thing once or twice a week for a 4-week period, you're gonna find that this will get a lot more smooth. I gave a lot of instruction in a short period of time, so give your body a chance to be able to integrate some of those pieces. Each time you do it, it's going to mean a little bit more for you.